The first episode of Grimm begins with a quiet setting in the woods where a young woman is jogging along a trail, listening to her music and following the path without noticing anything strange around her. She runs through trees and small turns, and as the scene moves, we notice someone else in the forest keeping pace from a distance. At first, it is unclear who it is or what they are doing, but soon the woman disappears from the trail, and this sets up the first case of the story. From here, the focus shifts to Nick Burkhart, who is introduced as a detective living in Portland. We see him at his home getting ready for work, and during this time he experiences something unusual. As he looks at people on the street, for a second their faces seem to shift into strange, non-human forms, but then return to normal immediately, leaving Nick confused about what he just saw. He pushes it aside and goes to work, where we meet his partner, Hank Griffin. Together, Nick and Hank are called to investigate the disappearance of the jogger from earlier, and they examine the forest scene, finding clothing and other signs that a struggle happened. They start piecing together what might have occurred, but things become more complicated when they are also brought in on another case involving a murdered college student, which seems to have links to the earlier disappearance. At this point, Nick's personal life is shown as we meet his girlfriend Juliet, and we see their ordinary home routine, giving balance to the strange things happening in his work. Soon after, Nick's Aunt Marie arrives unexpectedly in her motorhome. She is visibly sick and weak, but she sits Nick down and tells him important information about his family background. She explains that Nick is not like other people, that he has inherited a special ability to see things others cannot see, and that this ability will draw him into a hidden part of the world. Nick is not sure how to take her words, but they stay in his mind as he continues investigating his case. Back at work, Nick and Hank follow leads that bring them closer to a suspect, and Nick realizes that this suspect is one of the people whose face he saw shift earlier. This makes the case even more unusual for him, because now the things his aunt told him are lining up with what he is experiencing. Meanwhile, Marie is attacked in her motorhome by someone who tries to kill her, showing that there are real threats connected to her warnings. Nick manages to fight off the attacker, but the event leaves him even more unsettled about what is happening around him. In order to get answers, Nick approaches a man named Monroe. At first, Monroe looks suspicious because Nick sees his face change too. But unlike others, Monroe does not attack him. Instead, Monroe explains who he is and gives Nick background on the strange world he has stepped into. He tells Nick about people who look human, but are not, and how Nick's role is tied to them. This gives Nick more understanding of what is going on, even though it is still overwhelming. At the same time, the police investigation continues, and Nick and Hank narrow down the suspect connected to the jogger and the student. They check houses, question people, and gather evidence until they finally find the place where the missing girl is being held. With Monroe's advice helping him understand the situation, Nick takes action with Hank, and together they manage to save the girl and capture the suspect. By the end of the episode, Nick has not only solved the case, but also realized that his life is different now. The things his aunt warned him about are real, and his ability to see beyond normal appearances means his job as a detective will now involve a hidden side of the world that no one else around him can see. The episode closes with Nick aware that his future is going to be much more complicated and that his journey has only just started.